Senator, we are talking about of course, the flood control investigation, the contractors, homing in on your findings today, which is 5 of the 10 contractors have paid up capital that's far less than the amount of contracts that they had bidded for. If I could just pull up the chart. These 5 are QM Builders, Centerways, Triple Eight, Wow Builders, and MG Samidan. And our viewers can see right there yung paid up capital. These are all your numbers. Paid up capital, for instance, for QM is 1.25 lang. But in the last 3 years, they were able to corner over 7 billion in projects. Ganun din for Centerways, 45, over 5.1 billion in projects. Wow Builders, which was mentioned a number of times today, 50 million paid up capital, over 4.2 billion pesos in projects. And MG Samidan, the biggest discrepancy of them all, 250,000 in the latest reported paid up capital, over 5 billion pesos in projects in the last 3 years. What did you make of this?
Well, two things. Number one, according to the PCAB, which is the agency that regulates all of these construction companies, if you are going to take on a project worth 450 million and above, your paid up capital should be at least 1 billion pesos. So you will have the wherewithal to take on big projects. And normally big projects also have big risk. So, and for both sides, for both government and also for the contractor. So the contractor should have the wherewithal to take on that risk. That's the rationale why you're required to have big paid up capital. So if you look at that slide over there, a lot of these contractors have multi-billion peso worth of contracts. Even though you divide that into per year, because this is 3 years, they will still have about at least 1 billion plus pesos in terms of project. And a lot of these contractors will only have 50 million pesos in terms of paid up capital. Some of them 1 million pesos, some of them 250,000. And there's also another thing that we saw, that some of the contractors are also single proprietor. So maybe you're taking on projects that are worth billion, but the risk is to yourself, not to the corporation. That's also another angle that we are also looking at.
Okay. Sa DPWH Secretary Manny Bonoan, when asked about this, I felt passed the buck over by saying, well, they have licenses by PCAB, right? Meaning you have a license, you can bid for these projects. In terms of accountability, who has the liability here, do you think?
Well, that's why we were asking who gave the notice of award to these companies, to these contractors. And there are 3 levels in terms of bidding procedures and giving notice of award. That's at the district level, at the regional level, and at the central level. So depending on the contract, depending on the size of the project. So in my take, at least it's my personal take, is the district engineers, the regional directors, even the central office should also analyze whether the companies can take on big projects like this, especially multiple contracts. One company will have, let's say, multiple contracts being all at the same time being implemented. So the DPWH, through their districts, through their regional offices, should analyze whether these contractors will have that financial capability, the wherewithal to take on risk. Because if they don't and something happens, it's government that will be at the end of the tail, because it's the projects that will be left hanging. Projects will not be completed, and we see that in the reports. In fact, I saw in the reports a lot of these projects are not only substandard but also delayed. So maybe the contractors themselves are not financially capable in terms of completing the projects on time.
Another thing that came out earlier, Senator, was the fact that, nagsasubcon din yung malalaking contractor, yung mga may wherewithal to have the biggest ticket infrastructure projects, yung mga quadruple A. Sometimes you can notice na ang dami nilang projects. So what they do is they subcon it to other companies using their license to be able to win the bid. And as early as now, are you seeing ways to close this loophole? Is there something that we can amend? Is there something that you can legislate?
We're gonna take a look at that. And if you followed the hearing earlier, there were a lot of concepts that our senators raised. For example, like subcontracting or DPWH people implementing themselves. Ghost projects was also well, plain and simple admitted by no less than the secretary himself. So the next hearing will focus on showing the evidence. That's most important. We've laid down the concepts, we've laid down what we have heard on the ground. What's important for the next hearing will be evidence or pieces of evidence so that we can substantiate all of these, what I call it, open secrets.
Correct.
Because I think everyone admits and everyone knows what's happening within the DPWH organization. And now it's about time to bring out the evidence so that we can substantiate all of these things.
What about accountability on the part of
Definitely.
the government, not just on the contractors, because we should have learned our lesson na from Napoles, diba? From Formally, when these kinds of things happen also. But in terms of yung mga district engineer, regional directors in the DPWH, or whoever does the bids committees, are you planning to summon everyone, or will you just summon like their boss?
Well, it's very difficult to summon everyone because we're talking about 1,000+ projects happening all at the same time. But definitely we'll test a few projects. Local governments, the portal of the president is very effective because the citizenry is now empowered to report projects that are substandard or even ghost projects. So we will take it from there. But definitely the committee earlier is Blue Ribbon, which is the formal name of Blue Ribbon, this Committee on Public Accountability. So someone should be accountable. All of these malfeasance, misfeasance should end up in someone taking responsibility and accountability, and that's what we want to drive at.
Well, Senator, speaking of accountability, Secretary Bonoan did also point to the Philippine Contractors Accreditation Board under the DTI, and he said they're actually the body responsible for issuing and accrediting these firms. So will you also be calling them? And what does that signal for you, Senator? Is it a matter of oversight or probably something deeper?
Well, we'll take a look at that. We'll look at the entire picture. But what's important for me is the contracts that were entered into. PCAB is not the entity that entered into those contracts. It's DPWH that entered into those contracts. It's DPWH who audited the projects, accepted the projects, because before government pays you, you have to accept it. So it's within the DPWH organization. So the primary accountability lies with DPWH. We'll look at the other organizations like PCAB, but in my opinion, it's DPWH that should be accountable in all of these things.
And Senator, about these undercapitalized firms, in your opinion, should they be banned already from joining these large-scale infrastructure bidding?
Well, in concept, right now we're still getting more information. As you heard earlier, there was a rejoinder by the alleged owner of that QM builders. We need to analyze the data that he gave to us, and we're also looking at other information, for example, income tax returns, income tax payments, all of these things. So we're looking at the entire picture, whether those contractors are legitimate contractors or they're just being used as fronts for other personalities. So we have to look at the entire picture.
Oh my, that's the other thing I was going to point out, because the problem with reporting only that capital to SEC is it presupposes that they're also lying about their official financial documents, right? So may liability din yan sa taxes in terms of their financial projections.
Well, we're not discounting the fact that these companies might be fronts for other personalities, whether political or people in government. So we have to look at that angle as well. Like I said, we also discovered that 3 out of the 15 contractors are sole proprietor, meaning, sole proprietor are normally business for MSMEs. Normally, you set up a sari-sari store, you're a sole proprietor. but you don't undertake 7 billion project being a sole proprietor because the liability will fall under you as a person, no, legally. So that's a lot of risk to bear.
Sorry, sir. What was the third one? Yung three sole proprietors are QM
The
Builders,
other one
MG
is
Salidan, and
Road Edge. I don't
Road
think
Edge.
that's
Okay.
yeah, Road Edge.
And do you think, Senator, in your opinion, earlier, no, sabi ni Senator Marcoleta, he wants to deputize some members of the committee, the Blue Ribbon Committee, para sumama sa mga inspection dito sa mga projects, supposedly ghost projects. The President has assigned the DepDev to investigate instead of the DPWH because they can't investigate themselves. Pero we spoke to Baguio City Mayor Benji Magalong last week. He suggests that it has to be someone like the NBI or the CIDG to investigate this. Ano pong tingin ninyo?
Well, different people will have different perspectives. The NBI is definitely qualified. In our case, we're a different branch and we're after accountability in this sense. So the Blue Ribbon Committee is forming a task force, if you may say that, in order to physically go out and look at these projects. We need to test. We cannot go to all 1,000 plus projects. It's impossible. So we need to be more efficient and see and test, no, which projects are violating rules and violating the law.
To clarify, the sole proprietors, are they allowed to participate in the bidding? I forget about the ethics for a bit, pero legally, are they allowed to, as far as you know?
Legally, they are.
Okay.
Legally, they are. But it's very rare, at least in my experience, very rare that you have sole proprietor bidding for 7 billion projects. So that's very rare.
Yeah.
Very rare, but not illegal. So,
Yeah.
but then again, we want to look at the entire picture so that we analyze the how all of these things work in so far as bidding for projects.
You say it's an open secret, and yet today, at today's hearing, I lost track of the number of times Secretary Bonoan said, "I will look into that," or "that's what I heard," or "we are looking into it." So almost as if he's finding all of these out for the first time. Did that strike you the same way?
I think he knows very well. He's a very smart person. He comes from the corporate world. He's a heavyweight in terms of infrastructure and development projects. So he knows very well what's happening. I'm sure that he's treading very carefully in terms of approaching this controversy. But I'm sure the secretary knows this very well. Like I said, it's an open secret. You're in government. If you're doing government projects, everyone knows how this works.
Well, Senator, I mean, we were talking about this earlier. Nasa flood control pa lang po tayo. I mean, this is just a tip of the iceberg when it comes to possible infrastructure-related corruption. How far do you want to see this investigation go?
Well, I said in my opening speech that for 2026, we don't want a repeat of what happened in 2025. If these flood control projects are going to be ineffective and a waste of money, we won't hesitate here in the Senate to give the flood control project a zero budget and just put all of the 246 billion pesos to building of classrooms. We're trying to rush. We're trying to close the gap and rush in terms of addressing our education crisis. So if DPWH will not give us a solid argument for this flood control projects come 2026, then we won't hesitate to remove the amounts given there.
Senator, parang hindi rin okay yun because that's going to affect the ongoing projects, right? Because the money from last year doesn't just go into one-off projects. Some of them are continuing.
Well,
right?
this is a signal to them that they have to straighten out. But come budget hearing, we will have to analyze each and every project in each and every account, each and every operating budget. For example, the operation of flood pumps, we also need to analyze that. But my point of the matter here is we're sending a signal that we're very serious and DPWH should not repeat the same mistake. If they are saying that there are ghost projects, then make sure that there's no more ghost projects come 2026.
I wanted to ask you, no, since na-segue na rin nila into it, yesterday, very heated briefing, not hearing, between, of course, the new APRO chair, Congresswoman Mika Swansing, and Representative Toby Tiangco from the independent bloc. Representative Tiangco has been going around and doing media interviews and basically binubulat-lat niya yung mga modus. But yesterday, nalaman nga natin na parang nagmumukhang walang small committee report. Would you know anything about that, Senator? I think you were congressman also at one point.
Well, Sean, we have this interparliamentary courtesy, and that's the inner workings of the House of Representatives. So, as courtesy and as a co-equal in the legislative branch, I beg not to comment on that because that's their own process. We have our own process, we have our own rules, and as courtesy to one another, we try not to comment on each other's internal rules.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but to take it further, Senator, if you'll allow me.
But in our case, we just passed our concurrent resolution on transparency.
Yeah.
So next week we will have a hearing on operationalizing this. So we'll show the public how we will operationalize the new transparency initiatives here in the Senate.
Yeah, but to press on the point a little bit, Senator, as Senator Miggs was pointing out, it isn't just all on the DPWH. The BICAM is composed of the Senate and the lower house. So the Senate does have some involvement in this. It's just not clear to us at this point because, again, there's a bit of a black hole in terms of the small committee report. For you, what is the Senate's responsibility in all of this?
Well, the small committee, if I understand it, is the internal mechanism of Congress. No? So
Pero sa BICAM.
that's how they operate. That's how they work. Then we respect that. No. We have our own transparency measures here. We have our own mechanisms, and the way we'll do things here is we will upload the document so that the public can follow the changes in the budget along the way. It's not only the front and the end, but the middle is also important. The movements within the budget is also important. And we'll upload that to the Senate website.
Can you confirm, or do you guys already know who's going to be part of the BICAM this year from the Senate side?
It's too early to say because that's going to happen in December. So too
Wala
early
pang-
to say. But definitely, it's too early to say. But I was going to say definitely a lot of members from the Senate. But additionally, but it's too early to say who. No?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you're going to be part of it as finance chair. That's one
I'll
person
be
for sure.
definitely chairing that committee.
Sorry, yes. So the answer is yes. Okay.
Definitely, at least
Yeah,
Senator
yeah.
Win,
Yeah,
right?
because I'm the chairman, so I have to be there.
Okay, so we know who to chase, basically. I'm kidding. We'll leave that there. Thank you so much for talking to us tonight, Senator Win Gatchalian.